So here is a quick demo that showcases a simple app that will talk to the TMDB API, which is the movies database API, and then shows you a list of movies and then some details about those movies. And just for fun, we also added an integration with a small food menu from McDonald's that will show you some details about the item, and then you can actually make some changes on the CMS and see those changes live on your device. In fact, the entire app is driven from the CMS. So let's just see the app in action first, and then we can jump into the CMS side of things on how to configure it and see those changes also on the app. So what you have here is a very small onboarding screen. It kind of shows you the entry to the whole app, and then you can choose to see what's there, and I'll skip the whole thing and jump straight into the main dashboard. And the dashboard shows you all the movies which are currently upcoming. And in fact, we'll see a little later how you can configure this main screen to show you different types of movies or different lists of movies. Currently it's showing upcoming, but you can see other types of movies as well. So you can see all the upcoming movies, and notice that none of this is actually been embedded into the app itself. This is all coming through an API. So I can get into the details about this movie and see a bunch of details over here. And this is all coming from the API, so none of this is actually embedded in the app, right? And it's pretty easy to also change some of these things. You can actually use the Flutter hot reload to make changes to this while this is being shown. So it gives you all the flexibility and the power of a Flutter workflow. You can also navigate deeper into this app. So I can click on, let's see, all the recommendations that I'm seeing here. Let's see, Godzilla, and I can go deeper into this and see details about this movie, and probably a few other things that it's recommending. And notice that I'm creating a stack as you navigate. So the stack is getting created over here, right? And that's where you see it. You can also view the categories of all the movies. We just chose to use simple icons for each category. So let's see some drama and some apps. And again, you can click on the movie tile to see its details. And of course, you can also go back, and that shows you all the drama movies. I can see action, which is all the ones which you saw earlier. And let's see, sorry, not action, but I can see animation, which is some of the ones which are more recent. All right, so these are all the movies which you can see in categories. On the account tab, you will see your current user if you're already logged in, and also any items you added to the watch list. So for watch list, you can actually go into one of the details of any of the movies and add to watch list. So it's now in the watch list. Because the icon needs to be changed, but that's okay. You can go deeper inside. Let's say I go to this one. And I never seen this movie, so let me add it to the watch list. And as soon as you do that, you will see those movies showing up in your watch list. And this is a simple observer that looks at the list of watch list items that you have in your store and then shows the list over here. And I can go back to categories. I can look at if and then add that to the watch list, and then that also shows up over here. Of course, you can choose to decide, I don't want to see one of these movies. Let's say this I'll keep for later. So you can delete and then it goes away. And finally, you have the menu tab, which will show you a very simple menu of the items from the McDonald's menu. Only one of them is linked right now. So let me take this to the quarter pounder with cheese. And it shows you all the details that you would normally expect on the McDonald's website. Of course, shown with a more Flutter-specific rendering. And it's all configurable from the CMS. So if you choose to change some of these things, like for example, the text in your description, or make some things a little more bold and add some rich text and stuff, all of that is possible by making those changes on the CMS. All right, so we are now in the Sanity CMS, where you can see the home page, which reflects the home screen over here in our dashboard as well. In fact, all these tabs that you see over here are coming from the CMS as well. So let me quickly jump to that. So you have a settings section where you can specify all the tabs that you have. So I created settings for TMDB, which is the movie database. And you see that you have 4 tabs, and the last one being the menu tab. I can, of course, choose to remove this tab, let's say, and that'll go away from here as well. I won't do it right now, but we'll do it a little later maybe. So let's go back to the home. Now, as I mentioned, this home is currently showing you all the upcoming movies, but it's pretty easy to change this to something else. And that's what a CMS is for. Let's make a quick change and try out different ways in which you can change the dashboard itself. Oops, not the onboarding. I need to go to the movies page. In fact, before I jump to the movies page, it's probably worth looking at the onboarding screen as well. Right? So what you have here is a simple screen that has the onboarding steps. And onboarding steps are basically the set of things which you mentioned before you go into your app's main dashboard. And all of this is also configurable. In fact, you will see that if you go into details, you can actually have a rich text format of the steps, and you can choose to change the images, you can change the steps itself, change the order. All of that can be done pretty easily. And as an explorative way of trying out different things, you can add more steps, remove steps, and try out different copywriting formats, and so on and so forth, all without requiring you to completely re-release your entire application. And in fact, even if you're a developer and not really focused on just creating new versions of pages and stuff like that, it's very good for trying out different things and making sure your app works under various situations, in terms of the length of the text, in terms of the size of the image, when there's no image, and so on and so forth. Right? So it's a great explorative opportunity for developers as well as people who are going to be managing this content. Okay. So since we are in the onboarding step, let me try a quick thing, right? So let me just reload the app, and I'll go back here. And now you notice that the first page is the welcome to TMDB. But let's say I want to show this directly as what's in the demo. So I've just changed the order right now. And now if I refresh, you'll see that you'll see what's in the demo instead of welcome to TMDB. Right? So it's pretty easy to flip around these things and do that without requiring you to release a new version of the application or completely reload your app and so on and so forth. Right? So it's a very great opportunity to kind of try different things over here. All right, so let me put this back. So put this back over here. I refresh the whole page, and then I'm back to welcome to TMDB being the first screen, right? So let's skip now and jump straight to our upcoming movies. Now, this movies dashboard is actually the TMDB movies page. And right now we're showing you the upcoming movies, but it's pretty easy to change this. And notice that the body of this page contains a single item, which is just an API content, right? And this API content comes from the TMDB API. And notice that I don't have to worry about the API keys or which URL to connect to or what parameters to send in the query and so on and so forth, right? The CMS is not really meant to be a complete developer tool. Of course, you can expose a little bit of configuration if need be, but in general, you want to focus on creating configurations that are more friendlier for people who are managing the content, right? So in my case, I'm going to just create a very simple configuration that simply picks what list of movies I want to see. So let's say I switch to popular movies. And if I refresh the screen now, I'll see popular movies over here, right? So this apparently is what's popular at this point. I can also go back to, let's say, the top-rated movies, all-time top-rated movies. And as expected, you will see the Shawshank Redemption coming at the top, Godfather, Godfather 2, and so on, right? So these are all the top-rated movies. And this just shows you the first page of the movies itself, right? And nothing more at this point. I haven't added pagination to this, but that's not something that's pretty easy to add. In fact, shouldn't take too long. And you can also switch to, let's say, movies trending today. I don't know what's happening today, so let's see what's going on. And it looks like Godzilla is still on top, right? And then Dune is also still there. Okay, and then what about movies trending this week? Let's see, that also has the same pretty much setup, right? So Godzilla and Dune are pretty much the top movies this week. Okay, so that's about this screen, and you can see that's pretty easy to change between these things. And when you're doing a demo for your leadership, your management, or in between yourselves as a team, you can try out these different combinations and see what works, and then use that to keep it on the final app. In fact, we also have an option to switch between different lists for different people, depending on the customer segmentation, right? So we'll show that in a later demo, sometimes in the future, maybe. But it's all possible to change it from the CMS very quickly, right? So that's pretty much your home screen. And from home screen, I can navigate into the details of the movie. So here you'll see the details where you see the hero section of the movie, and then you have some statistics. There's some crew details, cast and crew, and then you have some backdrops, posters, recommendations, and then there ends the movie itself, right? I mean the details of the movie. So that's pretty much your movie screen. Now even this screen is actually configurable, right? So we chose to make actually break up this whole screen into a set of sections, and you can choose which sections you want and which ones you want to remove. Or in fact, if you add something in between, you could do that as well. And it all looks very seamless at this point, but in fact, it's broken up into a set of sections which you can actually play around with from the CMS. So let's do that quickly. Right, so for that, let me go into the movie details page, right, and then go into the body, and you'll see that your body is basically a set of sections. Now we have done some very clever things over here, where even though each of the section actually relies on the same data, we are not making separate calls to load each of the sections. There's a single API that gets made, and then the features which are returned from those APIs are shared across all of these sections. So that way you're not making excessive network calls and taking up extra bandwidth and then creating multiple loaders and stuff for your users, right? And this does a little more predictively, as soon as you click on the movie, it tries to do a quick fetch and then loads the whole thing, right? So by the time you load the page, you already have most of the details ready for you, right? So that's where it is right now. And now by default, we show you the hero section at the top. And then you have your statistics and then the cast and crew and so on. So let's move around a few things. I can move the statistics to be a little below, show the cast first, then the statistics, and then maybe the crew. And then I want to see maybe the recommendations first, before the gallery, and then finally the footer, right? So now if I just refresh the page, you will see that you have the hero at the top. You got your cast after that, and which is a list of, I think we show the top 9 characters cast from over here. And then you have the statistics section, you have the top crew, you have recommendations and backdrops and posters, and then finally the footer, right? In fact, I can move the footer right at the top, and you'll see that the footer actually is just another section, just like anything else, right? So this is your footer section apparently. Right, and then there's nothing happening at the bottom. But I think having the footer at the bottom kind of gives it a nice feel. So let's do that instead. And so now you have the footer at the bottom. All right. Okay. Now we are not limited to the sections what I've shown you over here. This is just a regular page, just like anything else inside the Vyuh framework, right? So I can keep adding more items over here. So let's say I want to add a custom card. Right, and then let's say maybe just say hello world over here, make a little break, and then add some exclamation marks, and let's pick some images. Let's see what images we have right now. And yeah, why don't we show this movie DB thing? I think this is an SVG file. I don't know. We'll see. SVG support is not added right now, but that's not too hard to add. So let's refresh and see where is our card. Oh, the card is not showing up, so let me change that to the other image. Let's see this one. Fresh, and then yeah, you have the card over here. All right, and it says hello world. And this card can be moved around, right? So you can move this card right to the top, right? And then this comes to the top over here. So you'll see that you can play around with different sections. Obviously, you will design these sections according to the design language of your app, and that gives you the building blocks which you can play around and see what works for your details page, right? And in fact, later on when you want to personalize, you can also personalize different sections, add and remove sections based on the customer segmentation, and do all of that by driving it from the CMS, right? So you can create different treatments right from the CMS, which I'm not going to show you right now. But it's definitely possible. In fact, you can try one very small thing at this point, which is, let's say I create a new conditional block, and for the condition I'll just use the simple boolean and set it to true. And when it's true, let's say the default use case is true, I'll add 2 use cases over here. So for the true item, I want to show a card, and let's say I'll show the, you know what, let's just put simple text. True card. right? I'll just put that, and I'll give it a title as well, which is true card, right? And then duplicate this, duplicate the case, and then make this the false card, and call it the false card. Change it over here to false, and let's say that's where we are right now, right? So we have a conditional item, right, which shows you by default it shows true, but that's controlled by the actual condition that you see, which is currently true. And depending on the condition, it will show the true card or the false card. So now if I refresh, you will see the true card showing up. I think it's all the way at the end. Yeah, the true card is over here. So let's bring it up so that it's easy for us to see what's going on. Refresh, and you'll see the true card over here, right? And I can go into the true card, change the condition to, let's say, false, and refresh over here. Oops, let's keep it. You'll see the false card. So now notice that the content that you're showing for the true and false conditions can be absolutely anything, right? So here we just chose to use a card, but you can actually put whatever you want. And this could be your own sections, movie sections and so on. And you could do that conditionally, depending on who's logged in and things like that, right? So in these conditions also are not limited to what I'm showing you. You can actually create your own custom conditions and then use that as dynamic criteria at runtime to decide what to show over here. Right, so that's all possible. For now, let me just remove this because it looks like a clutter. Yeah, let's go back to the clean look that we had before. All right, so that's our movie details, right? And of course, you can continue navigating inside. So I can go into my recommendations. I kind of jumbled up this thing, right? So let me just put this back to the way it was before. So my statistics was after hero, then cast and crew, and then I think I had the gallery, recommendations, and then the footer. Yep, so that's where we are. So recommendations comes to the bottom, and then I can go into Dune. So this is obviously, if you're watching Dune, you watch this first and then go to Dune 2. All right, so that's pretty much it about this movie details. And of course you can add this to the watch list. So I add this to the watch list, and then you can choose to put something else also, let's say Godzilla on the watch list. And then in your account, you will see that I'm currently logged in, and I'll see these two items in my watch list. Right, and I can actually log out right now. And you'll see that if I log out, it goes back to my auth screen, right, which shows nothing. And of course, I'll have to log in first. So let me log in. Go to the standard Google Auth login right now, which is what I integrated. And then once I'm back, I can see my watch list and see my details as well. Right, so that's the profile screen. And in the category screen, we are doing pretty much the same thing. We have a list of categories. You click on them, and you navigate to the list again. And this list that you see here is actually just showing you the category screen. Right, so here you can see that we actually have a categories movies screen, and it is just showing you the same content, but instead it's showing you movies by selected genre, right? If I change this to, let's say, popular movies, and refresh this, it'll always show popular movies in spite of, whatever category I selected over here. So if I select documentary, it won't care that I selected documentary, right? It'll just show popular movies. So we don't want that. Let's go back to selected genre and refresh, and then I'll see the documentary movies now. Right, so that's what we selected before. Okay, so that's how this category screen works and allows you to configure things. And it's reusing kind of the same building blocks that you had from the movie screen. And finally, we have the menu section. And here, this is a very simple screen that has a bunch of items, and I put this together pretty quickly with pretty minimal effort, I would say. Just creating a bunch of items, and the topics is just a group which shows you a grid of a 2x2 grid, rather a 2-column grid of all these items. And then breakfast menu is just a carousel that shows you all the breakfast items from the McDonald's menu. Right, so the only one linked right now is this Quarter Pounder Deluxe. So let me click on that, And this goes into the quarter pounder area, menu item. And all of this is also configurable from the CMS. So let's quickly jump into the menu. And our menu items itself have been created as specialized content documents, right? So typically these menu items would be documents of their own. So I have a menu item section where I created a document for the menu item with a special schema which is unique for this particular menu item, right? And you can keep adding as many schemas as you want. It's a headless CMS after all, which can be integrated into the framework, but you can see that it's very easily done over here. And I can go in and I can probably change this to, let's say, H4, I want an H3 here, refresh this, and then your text kind of increases in size, right? And then I can add some more things over here. Let's say, what do I have? I have a divider. So let me add a divider, which kind of makes the separation in the section over here. So now if I refresh, I should see a divider showing up, right? So what comes in a quarter pounder, and then you see all this footnotes type of thing happening over here, right? And these ingredients are also what you see on the McDonald's website. So I just kind of pasted them over here quickly for building up the screen. And all these details are also coming from McDonald's, right? Now the schema for this was created specifically for this document, right? So what you have is an image, a title, description, which is a portable text or a rich text, rendered pretty nicely over here, right? So we actually support pretty much everything that portable text supports in terms of the content blocks. So you have rich text blocks, you can do lists, you can do custom blocks. Like I showed you, I can add dividers and stuff. You can add cards, groups, and you can create offers internally over here, and so on and so forth, right? So you can do pretty much a lot of interesting things that you want. Now this particular thing, we didn't break it up into sections, but you could do that if you want. You could create different section blocks for ingredients, allergen, and so on and so forth, and then use that to determine how to lay out this page. But we kind of kept everything together with a fixed layout right now. And then you can see that the document for this particular menu item contains a very specialized schema. So you have calories and ingredients and nutritional information, and then related items and so on, right? So this doesn't look like anything like your page, right? If you look at the route, which are the page schema, it looks pretty different. In fact, you will see that it mostly focuses on the title and more UI specific things like the route type, path, category, regions, and so on. Whereas you can also create custom documents like this menu item and then use that to link between different things, right? So all that is pretty much possible over here with the CMS. And that's the real power of using a CMS along with a cross-platform toolkit like Flutter. I think using the best of both worlds, you can create something pretty quickly, explore pretty easily, and and have fun while you're building it. Now, doing this in any other tool, like let's say a UI design tool, which claims to be a no-code tool, can become very challenging, especially with the dynamic content, where you have a CMS connected to the actual content and you're changing things on the fly and so on and so forth, right? That can be a little tricky to do. Whereas here, we are pretty much primed for doing all these things very easily. The whole framework was used to even build a super app, so it's pretty capable in what it can do. Okay. So that's the CMS side of things, and you can see how all these things have been put together. And you have, let me open up the main app and quickly show you that by default we are moving to the TMDB screen. So if I just refresh, it jumps into the TMDB and starts over here. But I can change the initial location to something like movies and jump straight into the dashboard. Right, I can go straight there. And now it will load the dashboard for you. Right, so you can decide what you want to do in terms of your initial screen, and it will do the rest of the bit after there. One thing I forgot to show you is that over here, the menu itself, or the bottom bar itself, comes from a settings that is configured from the CMS, right? So right now you see 4 items, and for whatever reason, this menu kind of looks out of place right now, right? I mean, it was done to kind of show it as a demo that you can mix and match multiple things. But let's say you decide that this menu has done its job and now you want to take it out completely. You can go into your settings and just take out the tab. So I can remove this tab, right? And now if I go and reload my app, you can see that you only have 3 tabs, like home, categories, and account, which looks more natural for a movies app and doesn't add any extra things like the food menu. But you can always bring it back if you want to. So the way I would do it is go back to my previous thing, restore it, yep, confirm, and it's restored. So go back here, reload, and skip to this, and sure enough, your menu is back in action. Right? So it's pretty easy to kind of roll back a few changes. If you made a mistake, you can always correct the things that you wanted to see and make any copywriting changes all pretty quickly and easily, and then build up these screens and use schemas which are customized for your own needs. And you can kind of link multiple aspects of your application together using the concept of features, which you see over here. Here you have the system feature, a developer feature, and then I created TMDB and onboarding as a feature, and then Firebase Auth is also a feature, right? Developer we have seen in the past videos as well, but let me just quickly show you. The developer kind of gives you a glimpse into how this app itself has been put together in terms of what it contains. So you have all these plugins and you have all these features, and sure enough, you have this TMDB, which kind of puts all these routes in place. And we use Go Router, as you can probably tell. It's all using the stuff which you already know, and it's not adding anything extra. And you see that TMDB is actually adding few actions, it's adding some content builders and different types of descriptors and stuff. I want to go into all those details now, but it's possible. So Vyuh feature onboarding also does a few things. Right, it introduces the onboarding content, and that's all there. Let's go back to TMDB, reload the app, and you're back where you started. Right, so that's in a nutshell a quick demo of what you can possibly do using the Vyuh framework. You can use this to create CMS-driven apps. You can use it to create customized schemas, custom pages, custom blocks, custom actions, use runtime dynamic conditions to change things around. You can play around and be more explorative in your approach to creating apps. The explorative power is not limited to your business folks, but even developers can use it to try out different things, test the various constraints and situations and use cases in which your app can be, and then make sure it works well across all those scenarios. Right, so that's pretty much where we are.